Just kind of wanted to go over some of my thoughts on the altcoin market in general and Pangolin, which is essentially like a new decentralized exchange built off of Avalanche. So this is it basically right here. So in a nutshell, this is basically trying to be like Uniswap. I believe that the token serves very similar utility in terms of like trading and in terms of like governance tokens or whatever. I think the airdrop schedule is supposed to be some bullshit like based along the lines of Uniswap and along some of the other forks. I think the only fork that they're really focusing on the airdrops right now that I know of is Sushi, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to be focusing on all of them. And the reason why I think Pangolin is so interesting is that essentially it is a decentralized exchange, like I was saying, like Uniswap. However, it aims to be faster and quicker. And so far, it has actually seemed that it is faster and quicker. I was kind of playing around with it today a little bit, and I believe that the fees were about $2 a transaction, and that's, I think, flat-ish. So in terms of, and I think, again, one of the big bottlenecks is Ethereum, because a lot of the products they're using on here are Ethereum-based. And I think that if you want to use some sort of Ethereum product, for example, if you want to use ETH or Chainlink or DAI or Uni, something like that, I think you would have to wrap it, and then I think you could use it on this platform, similar to how you would wrap Bitcoin and use it on Pangolin. So I definitely recommend checking this out. Currently, I think that this is one of the cooler projects in the altcoin space. I think that we've seen the kind of the parabolic run, the big mass increase in things like Uniswap, and especially if you were able to buy Sushi from like $1. I think currently it's like, what, like 14 or 15 bucks. So that was a big bump. So those projects have been doing pretty well in general. And again, I think that Avalanche is probably, in my opinion, I don't want to say it's like the dark horse. Maybe that was a little bit of a clickbaity title. But I really definitely think that it's a decent investment. I mean, honestly, I have put some money into it. I've been kind of dollar cost averaging in recently. It did kind of have a big run up today due to the fact, well, it's been having a pretty big run up. What am I saying? But it has been having a pretty large run up, partially due to the fact that, Pangolin did drop, and that was pretty big. And so really quickly, if you want to see where Avalanche is, I believe Avalanche is, yep, so it's about 23. Damn, it's actually at about 40.81. I first started kind of shilling Avalanche on this channel when it was about $11. So I guess if you would have got in there, it would have been about almost a 4x return within less than a month. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting project. And again, I have talked about in the past kind of like the alternative to consensus algorithm that it uses, instead of like the classical consensus algorithm, which basically all distributed systems, decentralized systems before the Nakamoto consensus algorithm, which essentially made the classical consensus algorithm indeterministic. It made it more probabilistic, and I guess kind of what Avalanche is doing here. It's not, in my opinion, it's not too novel, but it kind of does mix some of the aspects of like the whole staking process via proof of stake with, again, kind of a new consensus algorithm that's more like gossip based. So it is created by one of the smarter minds in the industry. I believe that there are some of the one of the Jules guys or whatever his name is that's working on Chainlink has been working on Avalanche. I do think that Avalanche is probably one of the hotter projects. I would expect it to definitely be able to surpass some of these projects. I know Cosmos has been getting a lot of talk recently, but I definitely would expect it to definitely crack up here. I mean, look at this potential right here, right? We're seeing something like Uniswap at the 15th rank, and Avalanche is at 23. I think Avalanche really, because like I like Uniswap, I actually really do, and I like things like Sushi. But my issue with it is that the fees are just crazy, right? If you've ever tried to actually use Uniswap, it's a really cumbersome process. And again, Avalanche is aiming to kind of circumvent this. I see it as Avalanche is kind of a compression play. It's kind of a cross-platform compression play. So they try to like take some of the issues that plague like the Ethereum virtual machine, and they try to make it so that they're kind of creating these side chains using this alternative consensus protocol to maintain some sort of integrity within the system. However, they're able to make it cheaper and faster. Again, interesting project. In my opinion, I think it is probably my second favorite altcoin project that I've seen so far. I believe that it is its own blockchain. It's not actually built on Ethereum, which is also somewhat interesting. I have been told by some of my frog friends on Twitter, shout out to retardedly Daniel, whatever the fuck his name is, Big D from IT. He's kind of got the guy that was shilling me this since it was like $10. So kudos to him, shout out to him. Follow him on Twitter if you guys want some funny ass memes. But anyways, yeah, so Chainlink has been doing pretty well too. I mean, it's at like 27.30. I would expect it to hopefully continue on its tear. Yeah, Bitcoin, a little bit of a pullback today. Same with Ethereum. I guess Cardano still doing well. XRP, I would assume that XRP is probably still going to continue its fall down the chain. Binance coin, which is pretty fucking crazy. And for those of you who don't know, actually, I used to own a good amount of Binance until I had a bunch of like weird shenanigans go on with the exchange. But I actually got into Binance about $2. And again, Binance and Chainlink were like my two big coins from like 2017 that actually paid off because I got in on those pretty young. Pretty early in the project, and it just blows my mind to see that like this project that I once bought in at $2 motherfucking dollars is currently trading at 131. That's fucking psychotic to me. And also I kind of hate Binance, and I do not like this chain. And I know a lot of platforms and DeFi projects are trying to be built around it. They're using it as kind of this like new platform, which a bunch of shit is being built on. I don't necessarily buy it. I mean, I guess it's still technically better than Cardano and like maybe something like Polkadot, but I don't know. Again, when it comes to Cardano, Polkadot, and Binance, I'm not a huge fan. I just don't think that they bring that much to the table. I think something like Avalanche, if this Pangolin project actually ends up being big, I think that this is like the true decentralized project that we've all kind of been waiting for. And again, yes, the tokenomics of this project aren't great, but again, you could say the same thing for Chainlink, so I think a similar thing applies. Yeah, I mean, going down, if you want an alternative to Avalanche, another good token that basically does a very similar thing. Where is it? It is I can't find it. It's Phantom. Wherever I have been talking shilling up Phantom on this channel for a while now. I would try to look for it, but my computer is so goddamn slow. Let's try to find it here. But yeah, maybe it fell out of the top 100. If it fell out of the top 100, I definitely think that's a pretty good purchase. Yeah, as you can see, my bullshit thing is lagging here, so that is pretty fucking annoying. But yeah, I mean that is shit. This thing is so laggy. Yeah, but so in my opinion, if you want to try to get in on like this Avalanche hype, I think what you could do if you want a better risk return, but maybe getting into something like Phantom. But again, Phantom doesn't really have the projects that like Avalanche does have, like the whole Pangolin thing. And again, I haven't historically been a huge altcoin guy. I mean, I know that some of my best trades in my life, actually my best trades in my whole life have been altcoins. But, you know, when it comes to the whole Bitcoin maximalist, I guess debate that like so many people are constantly having. It's again, I could possibly see that a lot of these projects are eventually just going to be built on Bitcoin. You know, once the whole scalability issues are kind of like ironed out, it's basically going to be like all these other projects. Why would you build on anything else besides Bitcoin? Bitcoin is basically going to make everything else. Again, I'm not saying that the Bitcoin maximalists are wrong. Again, and I'm not even saying that I plan on holding these things long term, but I do think that in terms of like it's always good to hedge your bets. And I always think that you never know, you could hit it off with some of these. And like, again, altcoins are literally the highest flying assets on the planet. I mean, even something like Tesla ironically happens to be here, which I would say is like a quintessential equity, a quintessential like, you know, moonshot, overhype, tulip bubble bullshit equity that people usually point to. Or even if you were like, you know, not to pick on like Peter Schiff too much, but if you kind of look at some of the shit that he says, like, no, you know, I've had equities that outperformed Bitcoin last year. And like, yeah, sure, I kind of call bullshit. But I mean, there are obviously equities. I mean, maybe you will like get like some like electrical company from like fucking Thailand that like nobody fucking heard of, and it went from a market cap of like 20 million to like, I don't know, like 10 million, 100 million, or even like 200 million. Like, congratulations. I guess you technically outbeat Bitcoin that year on some random ass play, but realistically, it's not a large part of your portfolio. But anyways, you know, I kind of want to end this video just talking a little bit more general macro. Again, I think that if you're going to hear someone like Stephen Van Meter made a video today where she's basically talking about why all these reserves in the system and the TGA depletion coupled, you know, in conjunction with the fact that the Treasury is essentially saying that they're going to issue less bills and, you know, issue off less treasuries, debt, whatever the fuck you want to call it in general, all across the yield curve in the coming like months, as something that is theoretically going to lead to a contraction of the dollar system, right? There's going to be less dollars out, hence why you're seeing the reverse repos really having to come in and enforce the floor, which I've been talking about for a couple weeks, and we are seeing that bills are basically trading at a 0% interest rate, and some people are speculating on like why, and in my opinion, I don't really think that it's like that big of a deal. I mean, yes, it is definitely interesting, and yes, there are tons of different like nuanced takes that you could view that from. But in my opinion, the way that I see things is like we could theoretically see another pretty sizable liquidity crunch probably in this quarter and maybe even the beginning of next quarter. However, I think that whether or not the SLR relief is extended sometime in before April is going to make, I think in my opinion, should make some sort of big decision into which way the market goes. Because in my opinion, I think that there are basically two major bottlenecks to the amount of quantitative easing that the Federal Reserve can actually do. And some people might even point to like the debt ceiling. But again, I think that the debt ceiling is kind of more of a throwaway thing. I think that really you have to look at the GSIB scores and you have to look at the SLR. And the SLR is kind of a weird regulatory metric due to the fact that it kind of counts assets as just a risky asset in general. So even something like a bank reserve or a treasury, which are theoretically supposed to be like some of the most risk-free assets, are still considered like risky assets. So they still count towards the denominator of your SLR. And I believe that independents still need to keep about a 5% threshold. And I think that banks themselves need to have about a 6%. And some people are hypothesizing that, even if we were to see some sort of like bigger drop in or just a bigger drop off in like the whole relief programs that exist right now, the SLR wouldn't necessarily spike. Again, I'm not really sure how long that is sustainable for. And again, I don't think Janet Yellen's whole we are going to have some relief on the treasury is necessarily going to be able to extend, especially if Biden comes in and just really, strong arms his $2 trillion stimulus. Because again, I think that is one of the reasons why we didn't actually see a huge bout of inflation after the last stimulus package. Partially due to the fact that I think they didn't actually have to monetize a lot of debt to finance it. I think a lot of it already came from previous financing from the last cycle, from about Q2 to Q3 or even Q4 of 2020, and that money kind of came out of the TGA account and flooded the system with reserves. That being said, here's a question that I think isn't asked enough, especially when you see someone like the Stephen Van Ness, Brent Johnson, especially the Jeff Snyders of the world, kind of going out there and saying, look, there is too much liquidity in the system and there's not enough pristine collateral. Well, why do you need the pristine collateral? If you need the pristine collateral so that you can get liquidity, right? I mean, that's basically you have it so that if the Federal Reserve is like, hey, we need to give you guys more liquidity, so we're going to do quantitative easing, so we're going to do an asset swap, your collateral for our bank reserves, right? And those are basically going to go on your balance sheet, blah, 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 blah. And a very similar thing kind of happens to the repo market, right? Except, it's actually a collateralized thing. So it's like, okay, hey, we're going to post, we're going to basically give you these treasuries here. You're going to give us you're going to give us these liquidity, these bank reserves, and then we're going to give you, we're going to buy it back. We're actually going to repurchase it, hence the name, the repurchase agreement, repurchase operation, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I do think that the implications of this is kind of interesting in the fact that, like, why do you actually need to have backups if you already have the reserves, right? Because, like, why do you really need the treasuries if you already have the reserves? That's my question. I mean, there's probably a really simple answer out there. I'm sure there's some regulatory issues with this, but in my opinion, I don't really see why that has to play out the way it is. So maybe this whole, like, we just don't have this dollar squeeze that's gonna come scare that people are worrying about, I think it's overblown. And also, I think if you look at what happened in the last two stimulus checks, I mean, I think a stimulus package, I should say. Well, the first one essentially basically took Bitcoin to all-time highs, right? And it did take a while, and some people may point to that had more to do with the halvening or whatnot. I don't know. But the one that was passed in like December, right? Because I would argue that Bitcoin's big like nut off was kind of like when late December to like early to mid January, where we really kind of popped the fuck off and we're like, holy shit, we actually broke from like 20K to like 30K, and now we're at like 40K or whatever. Obviously we did hit like 42, we retested, now we're pulling back, and now we're at like 46. I think we even PP touched like 48 for a hot sec. But yeah, so in my opinion, I think that this next stimulus package really is going to be off to the races. I mean, a lot of people are saying that like there could be another dollar squeeze before this, like money market fund, all this bullshit, overnight rates, blah 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 blah. I'm not saying that isn't wrong. That's definitely possible. I mean, especially considering how fragile everything seems to be right now. But anyways, I definitely think that if you are a Bitcoin maximalist, here's food for thought. I think that if your goal in life is to get the max amount of sats possible, well, I definitely think that a lot of these altcoins, right, especially Avalanche has been killing Bitcoin recently, right? Bitcoin has been killing the dollar, but Avalanche has been killing Bitcoin. So it's basically been raping the dollar. But anyways, I kind of digress. I kind of see these altcoin projects as like levered plays on Bitcoin, because I mean, in theory, I think that we are going to see projects like Avalanche and Chainlink, which I do kind of like pop up and die, have pops, go down. I don't know. But at the end of the day, they will definitely have cycles and periods where they just slaughter sats. But I think that if you can figure out how to kind of move in between these, yes, I think it's good play. So overall, I think that altcoins should, from a perspective of Bitcoin maximalist, could be seen as like a leverage play on sats, right? And I know a lot of people are saying that like, oh man, I want to take like the Peter McCormick and Dan Held podcast I was listening to recently. It was pretty funny. He was basically saying that like everybody goes through like 3 stages, right? Basically you go to like, oh, I don't know, I kind of like Bitcoin, I'm gonna put a little bit into it, and then you get that stage 1 and stage 2 is like, fuck it, I'm gonna put all my assets that I have into Bitcoin, and then I'm 100% all, and then you have stage 3, which is like, god damn it, I just don't have enough Bitcoin, right? I need to go 120% in. Let me take out some loans, fuck this system. And you know, I think that if you really wanted to go that route, I think that maybe gambling, if you're going to gamble, why not gamble on an altcoin, right? Because I think that risk return is insane. I think Bitcoin itself, you know, cryptocurrencies, you know, more ubiquitously known as just Bitcoin, I guess, is kind of like the most asymmetric trade on the planet. But I think that these altcoins are the most asymmetric trade of the asymmetric trade basket, which is cryptocurrencies. Maybe you want to encapsulate that by just Bitcoin, but to each their own. Anyways, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole altcoin market. In my opinion, I think that it is put a bunch of altcoins on a dartboard, have a couple shots, and, you know, blindfold yourself and throw some shit at the board, and whatever sticks, just buy, go long. Again, could it go to 0? Yes, but again, I think these are the most asymmetric trades that exist right now. They are very euphoric. They could pop off, and I would recommend, you know, either if you converting gains back into Satoshis, like if, you know, lock away some gains. In my opinion, that's just kind of my 2 cents on the whole thing. But anyways, yeah, please let me know if there's any other altcoins or anything in specific you guys are looking at. I just kind of thought this whole new consensus protocol was somewhat interesting, and I thought the best application for this is really just a decentralized exchange, like essentially Uniswap that's cheap and fast.